more than 70 people have died. The estimated loss has been, estimated at around 10,000 crore rupees now.
That is huge amount
That's
of money.
huge,
That
absolutely
we are
huge.
looking at.
Landslides after landslides.
Landslides after landslides.
Chief Minister taking stock of the situation.
Shimla is on the edge. In fact, many parts of Shimla, there are questions being raised whether there is subsidence happening in Shimla as well. There has been an institute which was saying its road, it seems to be cracking up, and they suspect that the soil underneath the mountain ranges especially is being leached out, and that has, resulting in a reorganization of the topography in that place. So the topographical change is quite intense in Shimla area right now, especially after this heavy rains have happened. And
look at that, 21 deaths reported just from the 3 landslides in Shimla.
That is only the landslide part of it.
Only the landslides, absolutely. And we're learning there's another cloudburst that has happened in Himachal Pradesh. We were earlier looking at the Chief Minister's reaction, and we'll of course play that reaction very soon. But before that, talking about the damage and destruction on the ground. Not happening for the first time, pretty much the third time Himachal is going through something like this. 21 people dead in landslides in Shimla alone. This is Krishnanagar.
The brunt of it is in Shimla. The brunt of it in Shimla, we are seeing several known areas. I think this visual is iconic of what exactly has happened. And mind you, this is happening just 1.5 months. Earlier, we were actually showing the same kind of situation where rivers were bursting its bank, the same kind of rivers that were bringing in the mountain soil and eroding several buildings and crashing them.
So landslides in Himachal Pradesh and rain fury in Himachal Pradesh. On the other hand, in Uttarakhand, the rivers are at stake. Massive flooding in Uttarakhand, but not a lot of...
These are flash floods, by the way.
These are flash floods, absolutely. Even as we're learning that, another, Buddha Baba Dham Yatra has begun under heavy security. Several other Dham Yatras have begun, but over
Chardham
here...
Yatra had to be held for some time.
Take a look at the visuals, Varghese. One also has to take a look at the fact that the Chief Minister has been having sleepless nights. He's been on the helicopters, taking survey, taking stock of situations. But landslides and the subsidence angle that you spoke about, subsidence.
It's a very, very, sensitive ecological zone that we are looking at when it comes to Uttarakhand and Himachal. And they're also one of the youngest mountains in the world. So I think we need to keep looking at it from a point of view where it needs to be critically assessed as to whether this urbanization that has cropped up in the last 20-25 years, because the Himachal CM did make that statement. He said that unscientific nature of development and building construction is what is leading to the disastrous situation that we see in Himachal.
Unscientific planning and building leading to a scientific destruction. Take a look at this, Varghese. I mean, anything and everything from boulders to...
This is what I'm saying. It's like a moving concrete.
Sludge.
It's like a moving concrete that you see over here.
It is moving concrete, most certainly. And no wonder the death toll is rising. I mean, compare, a collective sum of the death toll between both these, states. And it's a Himalayan task, let me tell you. 75 odd people that have been killed in Himachal Pradesh. And in totality, almost above 80 people that have been killed in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh together. Rescue operations in the wee hours of the day coming across from Chamoli. And you got to give it to the NDRF, the SDRF, the Indian Army, the Indian Airforce. They've all been deployed.
And this, the risky part of the NDRF personnel also, they have to tread very carefully because the soil, once the landslide happens, is still considered to be dangerous because it could have a cascading effect further down. So they have, as they tread into this vegetation, soil and debris mixed kind of a situation, trying to find out for survivors, they're actually risking their lives being in that spot. So it is kudos to them that some kind of rescue operation is there. And it's not only the NDRF, the SDRF, the army personnel, all are there. Some of them had to come with gas cutters. Okay, these were the visuals that I was talking about, how you can see.
This is in Dehradun.
Dehradun. This is the kind of house collapse that we are seeing in Dehradun. And this is because there is reports of saying that, the land is technically changing. Basically, the topography is changing.
In Uttarakhand as well, Varghese, Joshimath has been seen the formation of cracks. Now formation of cracks coming across from Himachal Pradesh as well. Look at this. They're already shifting, the weight off of these areas because it might just collapse any day.
A lot of these houses, especially whatever is left with them, they're trying to, in fact, salvage as much as possible. There have been several houses that have collapsed, and all this because of the cracks. First, it appears as cracks. Later, of course, the structure becomes unstable and collapses.
It's a big, question mark on the kind of construction that we're carrying out in our Himalayan states. We're pressurizing the land. Cracks are appearing. Commercialization. I mean, a long weekend and you want to go to the hills. Any holiday or vacation that comes, you want to go to the hills. The traffic, the cars, the hotels, the resorts.
Kabir, the thing is, I was speaking to some of the people and, they were saying there is something called as a topography that has a kind of stability. So when you have unplanned development, you tend to affect that stable topography. And once that stable topography gets affected, when you have rains like this is how the situation comes in front of you. It comes in terms of landslides, it comes in terms. So this topography imbalance that they have created with unbridled development and unscientific kind of construction activity, they have not even looked at the soil, whether it is loose enough or it is solid enough to sustain weight. So on a loose soil, when you keep building and you start keeping a lot of, you start applying weight on it, it becomes too loose when when the water is absorbed into it. So it slides because there is a weight on top of it. It's basic, the basic understanding of
science.
There's
a reaction coming across from, the Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister, Sukhwinder Singh. Let's quickly listen into what the Chief Minister has to say.
देखिए, सरकार पूरा प्रयास कर रही है। अब जितनी जाने गई है उससे अधिक जाने ना जाए। रोड रिस्टोरेशंस हो, टेम्परेरी हमने सब रोड रिस्टोरेशंस का काम युद्ध स्तर पर कर दिया है और मेजॉरिटी रोड्स को, लिंक रोड्स को हम खोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं ताकि बागवान का सेब मंडियों तक पहुंचे। मैं हिमाचल से चुने हुए सारे चारों सांसदों से ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि इस राज्य में इतनी बड़ी आपदा आई है और पार्लियामेंट सेशन लगा है, आप राजनीति करने की बजाय वहां से हमें अंतरिम मदद बनाने के लिए आज तक क्यों नहीं मिले? हालांकि जेपी नड्डा जी ने हमेशा फोन करके पूछा है, पिछली बारी आपदा में उनका भी, अनुराग जी का भी फोन आया था, लेकिन आज तक चारों संसद इकट्ठे होकर तो मिल नहीं पाए कि राज्य में आपदा है, अंतरिम राहत की पहली किस्त दो, और राजनीति कर रहे हैं। इससे बड़ी आपदा नहीं आएगी। राजनीति करने के लिए और समय मिला है। अभी हमारे 70 होंगे, चुनाव होंगे तो राजनीति करना। इस समय मेरा सिर्फ ध्यान आपदा से प्रभावित लोगों के घर बसाना है, आपदा से प्रभावित लोगों के जो राहत हमारे पास अपने संसाधनों से वो पहुंचाना है, और उनके जो जख्म है, जिस आदमी ने अपना घर तिनका तिनका जोड़कर बनाया होता है, अगर वो उजड़ जाए, सिर्फ उनके जख्मों को अभी टेम्परेरी मरहम लगाकर उन्हें दोबारा से बसाने का निर्णय हमारी सरकार का कृत संकल्प है और हम इस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं।
रिलीफ कैंप्स कहाँ
सभी हिमाचल प्रदेश में जहाँ है रिलीफ कैंप हमारे युद्ध स्तर पर चल रहे हैं और उन रिलीफ कैंप के बाद उनको बसाने का भी दायित्व हमारा है।
Progressive words coming across, of course, from the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, but the rescue operations, Varghese, I mean, people are still feared, trapped beneath rubbles. The temple that collapsed in Himachal Pradesh, the entire residential areas that collapsed.
14 in Shimla, especially the temple collapse, they're saying 14 bodies have been recovered so far, and they fear that there could be more. So still rescue operations.
Yesterday we saw those rescue shots of, people being evacuated, airlifted by the choppers. It's almost like an adventure sport over there. Of course, now you're grappling with death more than ever. And the death toll is considerably rising. But kudos to all the agencies on the ground, the NDRF, the SDRF, Indian Army, the Indian Airforce. They've all been working tirelessly over the last 3 days. Over 350 people have been evacuated.
The Indian Air Force has been going to areas that cannot be accessed at all because the bridges have been washed away, the roads have been washed away, and there are medical emergencies that are there. And the only way of access for people who have been completely marooned because of this has been the Indian Air Force, and they have been deploying their helicopters, and helicopter rescue services have also been initiated. During this bad inclement weather also, they have carried out very risky sorties to evacuate people from these mountainous areas.
Now, News9, got in touch with, a higher official from the NDRF. We did a little bit of an interview with him. Let's understand from the NDRF, personnel, exactly what are the challenges. Various heavy machineries that are being incorporated, helicopters, choppers, massive amounts of boots that have been deployed on the ground. Let's listen in to what the NDRF perspective here is. How challenging is the rescue operations? How big of a task it is, the Himalayan task of rescuing, stranded people in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Take a look.
ये 2 जगह है जहाँ पर हमारी टीमों की ज़्यादा तैनाती की गई है। एक तो कांगड़ा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जहाँ पर काफ़ी बारिश हुई है और कई घर जो है तबाह हुए, लोग फंस गए पानी के बीच में, वहाँ पर रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशंस लगातार चला है 2-3 दिन। और दूसरा एक जो शिमला सिटी में जो लैंडस्लाइड हुआ है, 2-3 महत्वपूर्ण स्थान पर लैंडस्लाइड्स हुए हैं, मकान ढह गए हैं, तो उसमें मलबा हटा करके पहले तो जीवित लोगों को निकालना और उसके बाद वहाँ पर मलबे को हटा करके जो डेड बॉडीज़ हैं उनको भी निकालना उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इसमें कठिनाई आती है क्योंकि पहाड़ी इलाके में जो हैवी मशीनरी है उसको नज़दीक से नज़दीक ले जाना अपने आप में एक चुनौतीपूर्ण कार्य है और इसमें NDRF के साथ साथ SDRF, लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सभी लगे हुए हैं।
सर, हम देख भी रहे हैं, तस्वीरें भी आ रही हैं जिसमें फोर्सेस भी लगी हुई हैं, आर्म फोर्स भी लगी हुई है, एयरफोर्स और आर्मी भी लगी हुई है। हम सर यहाँ पर देख रहे हैं, हम यहाँ मॉनिटरिंग रूम में हैं NDRF के। थोड़ा सा सर हम अगर तस्वीर के ज़रिए समझना चाहें कहाँ कहाँ किस तरीके से थोड़ा काम हो रहा है या कौन सा ज़्यादा रिस्क एरिया बना हुआ है। जैसे बहुत सारे एरिया हैं जहाँ भूस्खलन की भी बहुत ज़्यादा अभी हम देख रहे हैं, तस्वीरें आ रही हैं।
जी बिल्कुल, जो पूरा जनरल एरिया है हिमाचल का, जाहिर सी बात है कि बारिश हुई है और लैंडस्लाइड्स 9-10 जगह हुए हैं, तो एक स्थिति ऐसी हो गई है जिसके लिए हम लोग अलर्ट हैं कि और जगह भी इस तरह की घटनाएं हो सकती हैं। लोगों को अलर्ट किया गया है और इसमें जो आर्मी के कॉलम्स हैं वो भी तैनात किए गए हैं। रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशंस के लिए एयरफोर्स की भी मदद ली गई है। थोड़ा सा इसमें एक इशू ये ज़रूर आता है कि जब वेदर कंडीशंस ख़राब होते हैं तो उसमें एयरबोर्न ऑपरेशंस भी मुश्किल होते हैं। तो इन सब चैलेंजेस को देखते हुए कार्रवाई की जा रही है और आगे के लिए भी एक रणनीति तैयार की जा रही है जिसमें हम सिचुएशन को देखते हुए उसमें हम जल्दी से जल्दी पहुंच सकें वहाँ पर।
Well, all right. Now let's shift our focus over here and let's talk about the flash floods as well, Varghese, because floods have been, wreaking havoc all across the Himalayan states. Take a look at that. Take a look at these visuals, Varghese. That's the helicopter trying to pick up and evacuate people from Kangra. Look at the height at which the helicopter is operating. It's so low because people need that kind of support and relief aid from the Indian Air Force as well. This is what the Indian Air Force is actually doing on the ground. Take a look at that. Words can't describe the kind of danger it is. Firstly, in the Himalayan state, you're flying a chopper, number one. Secondly, you're flying a chopper at such a low height. And thirdly, all these people also, trying to wade through flash floods and trying to enter the helicopter, wading through knee-deep water. This is the situation right now. Again, visuals coming in from Dehradun, where the personnel are on the ground. This is the situation. If you're outside on the streets, this is the situation right now in Dehradun.
Well, in many places in Himachal, especially that visual that I show from Kangra, it is being said that the crops have been completely destroyed. There are several areas in which people had to spend the night on their rooftops because the water had entered and there was no way that there was any letting out of the water happening. This is the kind of situation that we in fact have seen.
This is Moradabad that you're seeing, Varghese, because that's the rippling and the trickling down effect. It has now come down to Moradabad, is what we're learning. This is the situation right now in Moradabad. So even as people are grappling with life pretty much in the hills, life has been thrown out of gear. Again, take a look at that. Kanpur,
this is in lower stream,
Spate.
If you see the rivers being that, of course, the lower, the people who are staying at the lower end of the river stream, you can in fact see the kind of problems that they face. First of all, there has been a worrisome fact that a lot of agricultural land has been inundated, and especially at a time when we are looking at the harvesting of certain crops. So I think that's going to have
visuals again coming across from Rishikesh, Varghese. Your opinion on these visuals, because Rishikesh last time around we saw devastating floods. Again, you can see the destruction. Visuals coming in from Rishikesh.
Well, you can see how the banks have burst and they have actually eroded the sides of those banks. And these are new boundaries that have been set by the river after that huge. But at least, this river seems to become. Remember 1.5 months ago when it was really high, it was almost up towards the bridge. Several of the bridges are in
the Ram Jhula, a place that is thronged by various tourists all throughout the year. You've got hundreds of people standing on this particular bridge. It is that famous. And it's a huge connecting point, and below it is flowing this massive river. And once it is in spate, there have been cases where people have fallen into it, and then sometimes they're not even found. And this is Mother Nature's fury at its would you use the word worst here? Gurdaspur, which was
Punjab.
coming in from Gurdaspur.
You know, Gurdaspur has been one district, especially in the lower riparian areas.
Completely inundated.
Completely inundated.
And it's not even you can stand and, you know, wade through knee-deep water over here, get to where you're trying to go, because the current and the flow of the water, the velocity, it might not look as much right now, but trust me, if you put your feet inside it, it's going to be really a lot to handle.
Well, you can see those visuals out of there in Gurdaspur and from Hoshiarpur and all, where you know the daily life of people have been completely affected because of these floods. And I think, as I was telling you, the worrisome factor should be that several areas of agricultural land is inundated, and therefore it could have a direct bearing on your wheat, on your other vegetables, and as well as other crops as well. And one of the biggest issues that we are facing is that we are yet to have a number on that agricultural loss that people are seeing over here. The NDRF has and the SDRF are using inflatable boats to reach out to people who are marooned in those locations. And as you can see, Kabir, these are visuals coming in how the IAF is playing a crucial role in evacuating hundreds of people from various areas. You can see how women and children have been
Women and children, of course. And again, the NDRF, the you know, all fluorescent orange of the NDRF. I mean, I don't understand how they're able to reach to, you know, the remotest of areas and help out, you know, children, women. I know it's their job, but it's always awe-inspiring that, you know, where nobody's able to go.
This was
the
NDRF. This is what I was saying.
Several people were
houses.
laughing on this video, you know, yesterday on, you know, the microblogging website. But you have to hand it to the Indian Air Force. For their ways and the techniques and strategies with which they're able to evacuate people.
See,
almost 1,200 people.
A lot of people,
have been evacuated.
A lot of people, almost in the last 3 days, Kabir, have been spending their days on top of their, you know, rooftops. This is how they have been living for almost the last 3 days. It's been the only way they can survive, because their houses are literally small islands. They cannot move out of that. There's a raging water flow on the other side, and we can see how difficult it has been for them to find some kind of access to it. The roads have been washed away. There's water rising inside their homes. The only option was to be on the rooftop and pray that someone would actually catch them, and that is how the Indian Air Force is deploying a huge, you know, helicopters have been able to evacuate a lot of people. But you know, there are still areas where things are very bad and inaccessible as such, and rescue offers, rescue operations are still continuing in many areas. Heavy machinery has also been brought in, earth movers have also been brought in. But Shimla, I think Shimla is the center of what exactly is happening wrong when it comes to the situation in Himachal, and I think we must seriously look at.
Can you imagine?
That was a car.
That was a vehicle, and it's the rain and the deluge that has done something like this to a vehicle. It could be riot, it could be arson, it could be a, you know, full-on civil strife, and you would still be able to understand that, you know, boulders and cars shaped up like that. But rain and Mother Nature doing that to, you know, a set of quite heavy-duty iron, well, it's you don't see that every day. Complete destruction, trees being uprooted,
Broken
big trees.
These are trees that, some of these trees, what rescue workers were saying, was just snapped as the slides happened, and you know, in certain areas, they just snapped like twigs, is what they said.
Well, our you know, hearts and prayers, of course, with those who have lost their loved ones due to the deluge in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and of course, life has been thrown out of gear in you know, states that are placed lower than Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, Kanpur, Moradabad. We saw all those visuals, Gurdaspur as well. We'll have to wait and find out as to what is being done on the administrative end, because like the Chief Minister said, it's not about rehabilitation camps alone. We will also have to give them temporary houses. That's the next step of the government. So eyes and ears on the ground, bringing you the latest updates from Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand.